Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG podcast. This is Wings of Kani, Episode 3, Commander.
Feeling it too hard is the poison to the heart of a cynic.
We see a Lambda-class shuttle covered with broken tree limbs and vines. It's clear from the condition of the craft that its landing was not smooth. Around the shuttle, we see a campsite, fire pit, containers of water, fish drying racks. Cut to San, deep in the jungle, holding an arrow that he has crudely carved from a tree branch. He holds the arrow between two hands, and it lifts into the air, slowly spinning. San quickly waves a hand and sends the arrow flying. We hear the squeal of an animal as it hits its mark. Cut to the camp. A strange pig-like animal is roasting over the fire, while San carves a new arrow. He looks up, concern and wariness on his dirty face. We hear the distant sound of ion engines approaching. San quickly douses the fire with water, then reaches into the sky, calling on the Force. We see the smoke of his campfire moving as if in reverse. The trail of smoke sinks to the jungle floor, obscuring the camp as a pair of TIE fighters roar past. As the smoke clears, we see San staring at the sky, a look of frustration and anger on his face.
For millennia, the Kani lived in peace, in communion with their homeworld of Kani. The galactic civil war forced the Kani to leave their home. Together with the Kida and the 11 synthetic Venko, the denizens of Kani and their fleet gather unlikely allies in their search for a new home.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG podcast. I am Devin, and I am lost in space.
Hey everyone, Dan here, playing Zeta the Slicer.
Hey guys, it's John. I am playing Rej, the Gearhead, and also S3, the Astromech.
And this is Jake. I'll be playing San Tavar, the Jedi.
And I can't not say anything. Josh is here in the snack shack supporting us.
You ruined the surprise.
I did ruin the surprise.
Bonus Snack Shack presence.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
That's good. And he's at the table, which is great because he sounds very nice. He smells even better.
Well, you like the mustache?
I do.
Thanks.
It is graphic.
I do it every once in a while.
It is graphic.
A little bit of mustache envy, I'll have to say, but I'll
He
get
could
there.
double in that Tom Selleck, like naked on a tiger
He
rug.
really could.
Yep.
We're doing a calendar this year?
You can ride a pod racer. You can ride a mustache.
Sand everywhere.
You almost got that spit take.
That almost hurt.
We see the crew of the Wandering Star milling about space station renewal. We zoom in on the control center. In the lower part of the central disk, we see Karn and Rhymes sitting around a table. There are diagrams, data pads, ammunition, all laying out on a table. The two leaders of their mutineer faction are deliberating the best way to infiltrate, capture, and, if possible, free their crewmates from the Imperial strike class guillotine. San, in the 2 days following your arrival at the space station, the surrender of Karn and her band of mutineers, you have some time. What do you do aboard the space station renewal?
We see San in the highest ring of the station. Life support has been restored to it. There's this sort of domed ceiling We can see the asteroid belt outside floating by, occasional small rocks pinging off the dome because nothing is stopping them. And we see San meditating in the middle of the room. His eyes are closed, and he's just quietly thinking about the situation that he is in. And we see a smaller rock come towards the glass. He opens his eyes and he holds out a hand and he just carefully nudges it away. And he says to no one, "They don't understand the danger that we're in."
Roll me plus deep.
9.
You're still looking out into space, glittering asteroids. It all darkens for a moment. You hear behind you. You didn't think anything would have changed after this whole civil war ended, did you? This galaxy is ruled by fear.
For most people, it's an unseen fear. It's a fear of not knowing. For me, my fear comes from the fact that I do know. I do know what they're capable of.
You find yourself in an advantageous position, my apprentice. You are among them. You know them, perhaps better than themselves. Be a guiding hand to them. Show them the way. They will not fear when they stand beside you.
San stands up and he leaves the room, the sort of atrium viewing station that he's in. And he's going to start doing a sort of physical inventory of the station, seeing what assets we have available, what sort of tools might have been left, what was left behind as opposed to what wasn't left behind also might be kind of telling to him as to the nature of the evacuation. So he's not as technically savvy as Zeta and Rij, so he's not trying to look at records. He's trying to look at what is actually here. So he's going through cargo holds and stuff like that.
Okay, that's going to take some time.
Yep.
We're going to come back to you, and I'm going to ask for an assess roll. Rij.
Yes. You see Rij with his suit on in space, dragging one of the escape pods into the hangar bay of the Wandering Star. S3, get it over there. Little retro boosters and his little claws are attached, drift it in the zero-G atmosphere up to a workbench. And Rij floats over, grabs a cutter and some tools, and starts to go to work, pulling the engine bay open, making sure that the engines are in working order, setting the navigation computer. He is going to reconfigure all of these escape pods to be able to be remote controlled and be not run silent, but instead be a diversionary tactic. If we are going to assault the ship, they're going to go where we're not going.
You have a move that it's when you work with something you're not familiar with.
I can my workspace move if you want. When I go into my workspace and dedicate myself to making a thing or getting to the bottom of something, decide what and tell the GM. So I told you what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell me, sure, no problem, but, and then 1 to 4 of the following. It's going to take hours, weeks, months work. First, you'll have to get, build, figure out blank. You're going to need blank to help you with it. It's going to cost you a lot of cred. The best you'll be able to do is a crap version, weak and unreliable. It's going to mean exposing yourself plus colleagues to serious danger. You're going to have to add blank to your workplace first. It's going to have take several dozens, hundreds of tries, or you're going to have to take blank apart to do it. You might connect them all with an and, or might throw in a merciful or. Once you've handled all the necessities, you can go ahead and accomplish the thing itself.
Cool. So we'll get that roll. So we see Rij pulling out a torch, an arc torch, or an arc cutter. We see you have to sort of scavenge some tools to make complete sets, but you start working one at a time on these remote control modules for the escape pods. Give me that workspace roll, and we're going to jump to Zeta.
Where we find Zeta, he's in the station, and the particular part of the station that he's in, he's floating through one of the hallways. There's no gravity here because it's a part of the station that was largely reserved for the Venko, and they prefer to live in 0G space. He slowly comes to a stop in front of a door that is labeled, kind of been relabeled in to Kani, and it says Genesis Chamber. And he presses the power to the doors, and they slide open. And the room looks like it's been ransacked. Everything's been pulled out of it. And as he drifts through, he's scanning the room for any tools, any deposits that have been left behind. He notes on the floor there are scrape marks where one of the chambers had possibly been removed, detached, and brought with them in whatever sort of hurried exodus that they did when they left this station. He begins checking cabinets, containers, and he's slowly beginning to worry. Not something that he usually does, because he's looking for a substance, a mineral called calamite, which is the equivalent of food for his people. And it's something that is always produced where the Venko are, and something that his people need in order to heal, in order to sustain themselves, and to continue to function. He opens up every bay, every cupboard, even finds a canister where the sort of sandy-like deposit is usually kept, and there is nothing here. He looks slowly around the room and then drifts back out.
Cool. No roll necessary. Actually, give me a plus Kani.
Sure.
I got a 6, by the way.
Mark experience. Tapping into the control modules, the control panels of these escape pods, it's very difficult. It's almost like they're so simple that it's difficult to apply a complex system to it because the system doesn't understand.
I have an idea.
Sure.
Rij shows up to the command center. Garn, what did you do to these escape pods? Whatever you disabled the support signal, you fried the whole navigation board.
She looks over at Rhymes. I'm sorry. We were in a rush. We had engineers on the other craft. None of us are. We just had to put blasters to them.
Well, best we're going to be able to do is point these in a direction, fire the boosters, and hope that they think they're coming for them.
She looks at Rhymes. Rhymes shrugs.
None of you Imperial engineers? Kind of looks over the wounded in the command center.
She's shaking her head.
Gah, imps, what are you useful for? And Ree storms out. So he's going to retrofit it so that they can be fired.
Sure.
But basically pointed in a direction.
That's easy enough.
Yeah.
There are still some of those hauler droids on board, and they can move things. They can disassemble and reassemble parts while you do some of the sort of the finer mechanics.
Yep.
Zeta, what did you get on your Kani?
11.
Okay. You find a data pad, which is, it seemed like, I don't imagine the Venko use like personal data pads as much.
Sure.
So it stands to reason this was given to them by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a series of like long-range scans of nearby planetary systems. They're like what we can do. It's like laser. What is the name of that type of reading? Where you can get like a
spectrometry.
There's like spectrographic readouts from nearby planets, their atmospheres, their moons, all showing the different composites of their soil and atmospheres.
In this particular system?
Not in the Dodori system, but in surrounding systems in the outer rim.
Okay.
Some of them seem to be like relayed, or just this is a sort of database of nearby systems, specifically with calamite in mind.
Okay.
Searching for certain indicators that calamite would be present. So that's all you find. It'll take time to sift
process
through
the information. Okay.
Yep.
He carries it out with him and heads back towards the main body of the station.
San, you come up with an inventory.
I rolled an 8.
Okay. Hold 1.
Okay. Are you looking for some sort of token or something?
I'm looking for my move list.
Ah.
Do you have the move list here?
I do.
Are any of these questions?
I guess the one that I was kind of thinking, what he's looking for is just things that can help us in assaulting the guillotine, in taking it over. So equipment or information or anything like that. It's a mining area, so maybe there's some sort of explosives or mining equipment that could go through a hull, or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely some concussive explosives, like space plastic explosive. There are laser drills that are used to drill into asteroids and other rocky bodies. There are, again, a significant amount of droids, a not insignificant amount of droids, I should say. There is a craft, like a tow craft in the hangar that operates. It has a conventional engine, but it also has pneumatic stabilizing jets that can operate independent of the engine. So if a power outage or something like that, it could operate in the asteroid field without like registering on a radar or something like that. It could be completely powered down. But it's very, very slow, kind of clumsy.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got a data pad. I'm walking around and making a list.
There's a very little amount of food on the space station. The Venko don't eat food the way normally that the Kita do. And it seems like a significant amount of stores were taken.
So we learned at the end of the last game that the ship that creates the food was destroyed, right?
Yes.
So it would make sense that if they were abandoning the station, they would take everything with them, because they and I sort of make a note to ask Zeta about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been 2 days-ish that you all have been working on your little your projects. Some of the crew of the guillotine are back up and standing again. Karn and Rhymes seem to be, there's no good option. So I imagine you're all sitting around a table in commissary or something, a common area. Karn has all of those diagrams and documents and things in a little binder that's sitting on the chair. She seems to not even be regarding them.
We're going to need to get them close. Best I could do with those 3 escape pods was fix the repulsor engines in them, and then we can send them in the direction, but we won't be able to control them. So they'll know they're fake pretty quickly. So whatever we use them for, we're going to have to use them quick.
I believe they do have a couple more TIE fighters. It wouldn't make sense to load bodies on that. That is our quick distraction, something that might allow us to swoop in.
Yeah, let's hope they take the bait and send those TIEs after those escape pods. Zeta, I don't know if you can rig up a alert or a signal, make it look like a transport ship or something besides a escape pod.
He tilts his head one way, thinking, it is possible. I will research our available options.
Does this station have any way to simulate a jump signature?
Maybe a large enough power spike if we can get to the main power generators and turn them back on, and then overload a few cells. That should look like something like a jump.
It would be unlikely that the guillotine could detect that jump at their current location.
What do you mean?
The asteroid field currently blocks their sensor arrays.
Rige, do you think that the guillotine would be able to enter the asteroid belt?
If they're at full capacity with their turbo lasers, yes. But as such, they only have one available. From what Karn has said, I find it highly unlikely they're willing to take that risk.
Getting to the ship, that's going to be our first hurdle.
Captain Rhymes, Commander Karn, do you agree? Do you think that he wouldn't try to come here if he knew you were here? If he knew the station was here?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it, Josh. Fuck me.
Rhymes leans forward. He would try to come here, but he's unable to, as you pointed out. The way the ship is manned, they don't have the capacity to blast through the asteroid field. But the only way to get on that ship is to get them close enough.
Do they have a transport ship, a Lambda or anything like that?
No. The ties, escape pods. The way I see it, the only way to get them enticed is if they think they could pluck something or prevent something from leaving the asteroid field. And the only way to get on that ship with any chance of success is to do it unseen. That means being close enough to the field or some other kind of distraction that you would be able to get your ship there. Everything is underpowered there. Sensors, everything else. With how they're manned, and Commander, you might correct me on this, but if they have something that they need to focus on, if they have something that is drawing the attention for a closer scan, they do not have the capacity to do that and to maintain any kind of other lower range sensors.
The only thing that enticing, besides the station itself, would be the Wandering Star. If we poke our nose out, they'll be sure to come looking for us. Especially if we start to power up the hyperdrive and they detect that.
I don't think they can power up that interdiction module many more times before the whole ship goes dark.
Does this station have any kind of long-range probes?
There are sensors and communication relays. They could be rewired to act as probes, perhaps.
York is a prideful man. Moth that he is. If you could retrofit a pod, send it out seeming like a communications probe, broadcasting his distress from his fiefdom he's declared, he would do everything in his power to make sure he could nip that in the bud. That could get them close enough. We focused on that. And we could get close enough to board. Our goal, if you understand, as the commander's made clear, is to get our people out.
To get them out is one thing. But the Wandering Star, it's not going to hold all of them for very long. Our life support won't be able to keep up with the number of Imperials you want to bring back.
Long enough to get back to the station?
Yeah, if we're close enough.
This station isn't going to last much longer. Even as we speak, micrometeorites pelt its hull. We just don't have the manpower. We don't have the know-how to get this station up and running again.
There are 36 individuals aboard that ship. Engineers, pilots, Marines. They could man your station.
Any of those ships in your hangar bay space-worthy?
There's one, but only for sublight. It doesn't have any sort of hyperdrive. I fear I was being optimistic. Even if we can man the station, I look at Zeta and I say, there's no food here.
That is a correct assessment.
Karn deflates.
Is there anything on that strike cruiser, any shuttle that is down for repairs that could be pulled off? We have a hyperdrive that was meant for the fleet. If we could find something to put it in.
It was meant for the station. How long would it take to actually install it, though?
Months. Done correctly.
There is the planet.
We don't know what's there. Those signatures, the particles that were around the corpse of the hyphae, we don't know how dangerous it is.
We believe that the reason that our fleet fled this system is because some sort of cosmic force is unstable and destroyed our food supply ship. If this is accurate, we need to get out of this system as soon as possible.
I hypothesize that a nearby star is going to collapse, thus those waves. But I have not yet determined where its location is.
Karn Rhymes, you're 36 with you and your 4 or 5 that are up. Can you take that ship, maybe convince a couple more to turn tail? There's your hyperspace-worthy ship. At least one jump to get you somewhere.
Karn is looking deferentially towards Rhymes.
We tried that once. That's why we're here. Of course, that was largely because there was a turncoat. And apologies if it made your job here more difficult, Riege. But the reason there aren't any engineers here is because they were all killed or captured trying to take the engine room of the guillotine. If we had another go at it, the only chance would be decapitation. We must put down York quickly. If it's not a matter of getting our people out, Commander, the only way is that ship. If we can't stay here, that's our only way out.
That's what we found. Cut the Imperials' head off and they scatter like fries.
Like fries.
Like fries.
What kind of fries?
Curly fries.
Crinkle fries.
Karn is nodding. She has this 1,000-yard stare. Freedom fries. All right. Everyone get some rack. Let's talk about those beacons in the morning. Setting up those pods with something. No need to bring the wandering star out there. If we can float one of those pods by, it's one of 3. Put a little transponder on it, and then see what they do.
But Commander, the Wandering Star is our only chance to get onto that ship.
But we have to bring it close.
Not exactly. You forget how we got on the station. It's not my favorite method of space transport, but
Zeta standing there impassively.
with these two, it's rather effective.
Yeah, get that thing close enough to an asteroid that we're on, and we can hop on, cut our way in. They will be none the wiser.
We also have a ship in our cargo bay here. It's a small mining vessel, but it's capable of moving with non-electric pneumatic devices. It wouldn't be detected by their sensors. We could let Zeta and Riege take point in the vacuum, while the rest of us travel in the mining ship. They get us to the hull. We blast our way in, directly to the bridge.
Does it have cutting lasers?
We have portable cutting lasers. I'm not sure Riege could speak better to their effectiveness.
Zeta glances at your lightsabers.
This is a mining operation. This equipment is meant to bore mineral from the rock. There's also explosives.
It may take a bit longer than a normal asteroid, but we'll cut through that Durasteel hull. Plant a couple explosives even, yeah.
I would say no to explosives. If we can cut in, we know there's plenty of places of that ship that are completely powered down, life support off. We can get in and go from there. The whole trick will be getting to the detention center. Well, I guess the two options. We get to the detention center, free the rest of our men, Commander, or we go directly from York with what we have.
If we cut into that detention center, it won't be long before they know.
How many people do we have? How many Imperials are there right now with us?
9.
9 here?
Including Rhymes
Okay.
and Karn.
Not much of a stealth operation after that.
Perhaps we split our forces. The larger force goes for the detention area, draws more fire, but a greater reward, while a smaller group goes for the bridge and tries to, what did you say, Riche? Take the head?
Cut their head off.
It is possible, once on board the ship, I can communicate with it. I may be able to shut down necessary systems.
If we can vacate the bridge of any kind of life support, they'll have to be scrambling for their exosuits, and we'll all be suited up anyway.
A firefight without atmospheres, much more deadly. Perhaps not for you, but for the rest of us.
Deadly for all. And if we're prepared, and they're not, we have the advantage.
The least killing, the better. There's plenty of those people who, if York was gone, would follow you, Commander. We'll need them. I think we've seen enough bloodshed out here.
She's nodding, again staring at nothing.
I say we send the majority of your troops directly to the detention bay. Let them act as a distraction while we take the bridge.
Not all of them are fighters. I can split some up. If you do want to go to engineering, we can send a couple of hands, at least to give you some help.
Commander, we do not have the numbers to split our forces. My recommendation would be you listen to these allies and their input, but we have only enough dice to cast in one direction.
It's our ship. We can't send them in without someone who knows it. It's too big.
Even altogether, we'll be outnumbered no matter what. Splitting up would just make those odds go down.
I agree.
What target would you prefer, Commander?
She pulls out one of those diagrams. Montage. There are 5 main decks in that. So the Guillotine, this medium strike class cruiser, almost looks like a finger with a couple little joints and then a sort of hub at each one. The front end has been mainly dedicated to the interdiction customization. So almost everything was gutted for this this device that essentially creates gravity wells in space. Now, the back part of the ship, think of like the almost like an ant, thorax, abdomen, and head. That thorax or that abdomen, that big, long, wide part at the back is mostly engines. There are some engineering decks in there, but they're mainly just to support the engines. Now, in the middle, there are 5 main decks. There's maintenance docks at the bottom, and there's antenna and radio arrays and sensor arrays on the bottom. Above that deck is main engineering that supports both the surveillance, the scanners, sensors, but also the hangars in that main central part. Above that is detention. That's where it's just a grid-like area with cells. A crew quarters above that, which is all sort of the dormitories. There are other crew quarters on the other parts of the ship, but these ones specifically are the ones that are being used by Yorick and his crew. On top of that is, above that is the commissary and sort of common areas, main throughways of the ship. You can get from the commissary in the common areas. You can get to pretty much everywhere, turbo lifts, stuff like that. There's another main throughway, almost like a catwalk, that spiders the entire length of the ship. And then above that, it's almost like this little module on top of the ship is the bridge. It is only accessible by turbolift or, as Karn points out, maintenance shafts for the turbolift. Rhymes, give me a plus Kani.
A fail.
Mark experience. Pick one of those decks and I'll give you some information about the deck. I'll give you a pretty good idea of what goes on there.
I would defer to the PCs if you wanted to, like,
Sure,
you'd
ask
be the
them.
one asking questions about
Yeah.
the ship. We say that we gave that overall description.
Um,
I say, are there any good choke points? A place where we could perhaps prevent them from swarming us? Something we could block off?
Definitely the crew quarters. They do shifts where 40 crew members will be catching rack at once. They do 3 shifts of 40. So if you could get to the crew quarters, you would guess that they would be, if you could catch them unprepared and unarmed, you would have a distinct advantage over a much larger amount of people.
Otherwise, there's choke points throughout the ship. The pro and con of the strike class is that they're designed to be modular, which means that the ship was not built as one hull, but as separate components that are then attached. Each component is largely isolated from the rest.
well, the crew quarters sounds like a place where we can hold security with fewer members and hold a choke point before we enter the bridge through the maintenance shafts that you mentioned.
Karn nods and she pulls out some other diagrams of the upper part, sort of the crew quarters, commissary, that spidering throughway, and the bridge. And then clearly demarcates turbo lifts in the area. But she'll say there's surveillance on most of the turbo lifts. The bridge is aware of any and all that are activated at once. If we want to do it quietly for as long as we can, we go low tech.
Are there any external access points to the maintenance shaft of that turbo lift?
Maybe it would probably be up top near where the bridge attaches. But otherwise, most of the turbo lifts that go towards the common areas we can access through the maintenance docks at the bottom of the ship.
What if we...
And the hangar bay is not an option. It's guarded. Significant weapon storage there. By the time we get there, we'd be lit up.
What if we use the Wandering Star as a distraction? If we have S3 pilot it and make it seem like he's trying to make an escape run, but let him be captured. When they brought it on board, they'd be sure to send additional forces to the cargo bay.
That tractor beam, I don't even know how far it can pull from, but they'd shoot it down rather than bring it on board. Knowing Yorick, if he suspects that any of the mutineers from his crew were on board that ship, he'd blow them out of the sky. And I'm not asking you to sacrifice your ship for me or my people.
I was more hoping that we'd have an option to escape if necessary.
Zeta's looking at the plans.
That being said, if things go well, we'll need someone to bring the Wandering Star there. Whether it's a hasty departure or whether we're seeing you off with the commander in charge of the guillotine. Still need someone to get that ship out there. Even if we take it, we're not bringing it back to the station, not through the field.
Well, Caldo will be there to pilot. S3 will be there in case anything goes wrong.
And we might have had our first opportunity. She's looking at a data pad in her hand. She goes over to the, no, it's Star Wars, right? There's a table. She puts the data pad on the table and makes a connection. And the star map of the local area appears, sort of zooms in. You can see the asteroid field, a little blinking light that indicates the renewal. You do see the guillotine on the sensors, and you see another ship just appear, jump into the system.
Don't like that.
Can we get a scan on that? She's looking up to everyone else.
Zeta.
Zeta's already walking across to one of the other stations. He puts his hand on the station and the lights begin to kind of alter and change. And then the scanner readings come up based on what he can pull. Should I make an assess roll?
Make an assess roll. I'm going to tell you some stuff anyways, just because of the
nature of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 13.
This is an Imperial Gazanti class cruiser. So it is a like sort of boxy, long boxy ship with a couple of like almost like airplane wings. So it looks like a modern fuselage. In another ship, a Wayfarer class freighter. Now this is something that looks like literally a box with a little cockpit attached to the side of it. These two ships jump into the system. Just for a moment, you see the Gazanti class cruiser jettison two smaller craft and then jump out of the system. And you have a Wayfarer class transport and two smaller craft that approach the guillotine. And you see them just slowly. Boop, boop,
another cruiser?
Boop.
More friends of yours, Karn?
It's a transport. Two smaller craft. Zeta, can we get a tighter read on the smaller craft?
Yes.
She's looking back at her diagrams and things.
One moment.
You have 3 questions.
Let's see. Who or what is in control here? What do I notice despite an effort to conceal it? And what is my best way in or way past?
Okay. You suspect that this is support, direct material support to the guillotine.
I kind of piece that together because there was no spike in it using its interdiction.
Correct. What you notice despite an effort to conceal it. The 2 smaller craft, you get a scan on them, and they are TIE bombers, 2 of them. And that Wayfarer class transport is red hot. Seems like that transport is stocked full of munitions. And what was the last question?
The last question was, what is my best way in or way past? May not be applicable yet. We could hold it.
Someone said last time, I think it was San, that the Empire usually uses bombers to clear asteroid fields. And that seems exactly 2 TIE bombers, a support vehicle, in addition to those 2 TIE fighters. That is a normal sized party to clear asteroid fields. Using that, you can assume that the guillotine is going to start trying to make its way into the asteroid field or through it.
Zeta opens his eyes from when he was touching the control station and turns to the group at the table. San was correct. They have just brought in 2 TIE bombers to begin clearing the asteroid field. I suspect they will begin soon. Additionally, the cargo freighter is full of munitions. They have resupplied their weaponry.
Well, at least we know they're going to come to us.
Let's hope it's just munitions and not a squad of stormtroopers.
Okay. Cut the rack time. Let's get ready now. Knowing Yorick, he's going to want to move soon.
We jettison the pods with a signal, pull off the TIE fighters. When it gets close, we move in with the tow. Leave the Wandering Star powered down, but in range, ready to jump.
I'll stay on the sensors. I'll let you know when they're close.
Son, your trip through the station. Any munitions left? Any blasters, weapons?
Nothing significant. Cutting lasers for mining explosives, but not really any weapons. And as I mentioned before, not really any food.
Right. Well, if we're going to free those detainees, they're going to need something to fight with.
That's a good point.
The officers have blaster pistols. Rhymes and the other Marine have blaster rifles.
Commander, what's our objective? Are we going for the bridge? Or are we going for the rest?
Based on our inability to outfit the rest of your crew, it would seem prudent to go after the command structure.
That transport, that could be your ticket out. Just make sure it doesn't go boom.
Commander Karn, what is your assessment of the crew? Not the ones that are loyal to you, but the rest. Could they be persuaded to change allegiance?
They're tired. They're tired of starving. They're tired of hunting for food. They joined up, I'm sure, for the same reason that I did. Peace, order, the lies that the Empire told them. They see it just as much as the men that follow me. They just don't have... They can't deny Yorick. If he were gone, they would look to someone, some sort of stability, peace, real peace.
Is Rhymes nodding his head?
Rhymes nods, and he says, we go for the bridge, we go for York. If things go badly, and we don't make it, ultimately the rest of the crew, they'll take them back in. They won't have a choice, they need them. If we go for them and free them...
They won't be very helpful if they don't have weapons. They'll just be a liability at that point. I say we try to enter the ship in one of these unused sections you spoke of, and then we try to take control of the turbo lifts. If that is the only way to the bridge, then we make it a choke point. We have your men hold it long enough for us to take out the Moff.
If we take the maintenance shafts to the top, we're already in position. We call the lifts. We secure them while we take the bridge.
I nod.
If we control the lifts, that 40 crew is out of the equation.
Plus all those that are in engineering everywhere else. We only have to deal with the bridge and those that respond to it.
Yorick doesn't like droids. He'll only have humans up there on the bridge.
Well, it's a good thing we don't mind droids so much. Maybe pack a couple haulers, use them as meat shields if we have to.
You see Zeta's head tweak when you say meat shields.
Minus the meat.
Okay. I got him on track. Looks like 6 hours until contact with the outside of the field.
All right, let's get the Wandering Star into position, powered down, and get the tow rig close.
I'll strip anything out of the tow rig that takes up space or weight. Make sure we have enough room for all of our people in it.
We'll mount the escape pods to the tow rig and fire them once they're close. Hopefully that'll draw away those TIE fighters, and then we can attach to the bridge section, cut our way into the maintenance shaft, and control the turbo lifts.
Zeta, the tow rig is extremely slow when it's not using its ion engines. You're probably going to need to be a forward scout. Lead the way for that ship.
That is acceptable. Do you still require the signature of the pods to be altered?
Yeah, we want them to be something that they'll chase. Karn, why don't you help them with the message?
Yes. She grabs her data pad and goes and stands by Zeta.
I think Zeta begins walking out towards the hangar bay where the pods are.
Okay. She's vac suited up. She's following you.
I can help you plot a path for this mining ship. Remember, if we're discovered before we get to the top of the turbo lifts, everything changes.
You should also speak to Zeta. Try to explain to him the best place on the hull to attach our ship. He's going to be out there in the vacuum. He's going to be our spotter. Make sure he knows what to look for.
I'll speak to him.
We're not still, just a sidebar, we're not still using one of the signal boosters as a decoy for a distress signal? Is that
No.
Okay. We scrapped that.
Just
idea.
as
Yep.
we're just using the escape pods.
Yeah.
pods.
Yep.
You could use those. It would definitely be confusing to a sensor.
One of the relays.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have time in 6 hours, but
They're connected to each other. Maybe it's sort of you could run a stronger signal through them. It might overload and destroy them or disable them, but you might be able to get a burst out, at least enough to sort of almost like smoke screen other craft. They're at your disposal. You could also use them to get readings in real time from around the area.
Okay. Yeah, Zeta is going to accompany Karn down to the hangar bay and begin making alterations to the broadcast signal on at least one of the escape pods.
Okay. Yeah, she has Imperial codes, so
All right.
she is able to replicate a.
It's an old one, but it checks out.
It checks out.
Rij is going to clear everything out of the Wandering Star to make room for anybody that we might have to evacuate
Okay.
and leave it in the space station for now.
Does anyone have any contraband in the Wandering Star?
Marijuana.
I imagine we all have. No, we probably have like quarters in the fleet, right? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, we didn't bring anything. I mean, I didn't bring anything weird.
We probably just have
I left my Sith holocron.
This is your work. This is your
your
work.
Darth
ship.
Vader bobblehead.
It's like in every fucking video game when you get into like the guy's like, secret room and he's got journals about how evil he is. I just love killing.
He's got the poster from A New Hope with fucking darts in Luke Skywalker's face. Okay.
I'll help Rij clear out the Wandering Star though, mainly just for role playing opportunity.
Sure.
So, son, what do you think of this plan? You have a good feeling about it?
No, I don't. I do think they mean well. These Imperials, I don't think they intend to betray us, but it's incredibly dangerous. We're highly outnumbered in an area that we aren't familiar with.
Yeah, who's to say if Karn takes that ship, she doesn't turn on us, takes the Wandering Star, maybe tries to find the fleet.
I think she wants stability. I think she wants a place that she doesn't have to keep wondering where each meal is going to come from.
That's the promise of the Empire, wasn't it?
It was.
That's what sucked us all in when the Imperials came to Kani, to the station. That's what the Viceroy told Lakita. The Imperials would bring stability, jobs, food, money. And what happened?
Now imagine being someone like Commander Karn or Captain Rhymes. Their whole life, the Empire's provided everything for them. A place to live, food, security, stability. Perhaps they were aware somewhere deep inside their hearts of what it truly was doing. Or perhaps they only saw a small bit of it, a small part of control and order. Regardless, their whole lives they've known this empire to protect them like a parent. And now that parent is dead. They're scared. They don't know where they belong in this galaxy. I think Commander Karn is looking for stability, looking for a new ally.
I hope you're right, son. Rij takes a long drag of his death stick.
Signature item.
Yep.
I think only time will tell how these ex-Imperials all end up being. I'm sure some of them were aware of what they were doing. I'm not sure if there's redemption for those, but the great majority of them, it was the only life they ever knew. People my age, there was no before the Empire.
Yeah. Well, if what happened to the fleet is as bad as we think, we're going to need all the help we can get. And if we can trust them, if they come through, well, bygones be bygones, right?
Perhaps it's best to have a backup plan in case they prove untrustworthy. The explosives on the station. Could we load them onto the Wandering Star, give them to Caldo to use as a bargaining chip if we end up finding ourselves as hostages?
We could. I can hide them where they won't find them. Hell, they said their engineering team was dead or captured, so no one will know where to look.
I nod, and then I leave the ship.
Yeah, Rij hide some explosives on the ship.
Very cool. Very cool. Very awesome.
I like that as a reflection of fear in Jake's character and the dark side stuff.
Let me talk him into a little bit of distrust.
Zeta or Rhymes, anything?
I went down with Karn
Okay.
and
As did
and
Zeta.
Zeta, after kind of his head bowed for a few minutes, he looks up and he says to the two of you, "The signal has been cloned. It will be sufficient, at least under light scrutiny.
Light scrutiny is all they can provide right now.
Based on my earlier scanning, the guillotine has 1, perhaps 2 jumps left remaining. Where will you go?"
She looks at Rhymes.
It's classified. He doesn't.
He should.
We'll go to the Emperor's rally point, of course.
I don't know. I've honestly thought about hiring myself out to the huts at this point. At least they pay. You can have some control over your own life.
See, Rhymes kind of grimaces and then takes on sort of like a deliberately neutral expression.
You would become mercenaries.
It's what we know how to do. It's what we've been doing.
It does not seem to have worked for you.
No.
Because of who's in charge.
Zeta nods very briefly at that.
When I joined the Republic, it wasn't day to day all that different than serving the Empire. When you're out on a ship in space, you're not serving a cause. Day to day, you're just serving with each other. And if you have the right person in charge, that means a lot more. They're the ones that are there. And I trust the commander will make the right choice. For now, we just have to worry about getting there. And I can help you pick out the spot.
Very well. If you can provide an astrogation point, I can make sure that the pods reach there to the best of their ability.
Here. They were able to provide this. And she produces a little hollow cube, one of those little projector devices. And it shows the local area of the asteroid field, which says the course I plotted them at. I see here and here is where they'll make their entry. They'll probably use the bombers first, the ties in as escort. Maybe we even scare off the bombers, the ties investigate. We need to let that ship enter the asteroid field first, get it all the way in, so that it's just as difficult to go back out than it is to go through. That's when we'll have the most advantage. That's where they'll be blind.
You would do this at risk of losing your ship.
It's the only chance we have. None of the ideas are particularly good, but we take the best one we got.
This mining ship without operating on ion power will be almost blind itself. We'll rely on your guidance, Zeta, to get us to the right point. That point is going to be where the foremost module connects to the second. As I said, the strike class are modular. Those connecting points, it's a double compartment, and the outside ring is all maintenance. Even at full power, they operate without life support. We get in there, and then you go forward, and we can get towards the maintenance shafts that lead up into the turbo lifts.
Zeta nods briefly and he says, "I am familiar with this type of operation. My primary duties include mining asteroid fields. This is a similar exercise."
Okay. I'm going to go check on Rij. I'm going to go see if the Wandering Star is ready. This cargo craft, I hope it can do what you say it does. If they see us on those radars, she looks at the craft again, nods.
"As long as the TIE fighters do not intercept us, I would say the probability is over 90%.
That's good enough for me.
Quick scene on the side as Rhymes and Commander Karn are walking down one of the hallways.
She's quiet.
Do you really think we can trust them?
We have to.
On the surface, they're taking an awfully large risk for information. They don't have any stake in this, and it's clear they have no love of the Imperials they lump us all into.
the young man, the counselor. I think he's one of the Knights of the Old Republic.
He's a bit young for that. He's younger than my son.
Yes, but he's wise. When I speak to him, I believe him. I don't believe it's any sort of trick. He seemed to know my entire story as if he's seen it before. If you can't believe that, she just shakes her head.
Curious about this fleet of theirs.
Me too.
Well, I'll brief the rest of the men, get them ready, get them down to the, whatever you want to call this ship, spitting out into the sky.
We've already been spat out, Rhymes.
You know, I only joined the Republic to get off the shipyards on Kuat. I didn't think I'd be sending my life out again on a mining ship into the void.
And here we are.
Here we are. I'll see you down there, Commander.
Yes, sir.
Cool episode title, Into the Void.
I think one of my little tabs in my document was Into the Void.
Really?
I think so. One of my headers.
Can I do a little scene with Commander Karn?
Yeah, sure.
Go find her.
Probably intercept her on her way to the
Interdictor.
Interdictor.
Hardly even know her.
Oh,
I just met her.
Man.
how have we never made an interdictor?
I don't know.
My uncle was an interdictor. The 70s.
Mountain climber.
Josh has an interdictor mustache.
Interdictor Prime.
Yeah. San, you find Karn as she's heading back from the hangar where the pods are. She seems preoccupied.
Oh, the escape pod's in order.
One of them, at least. It'll throw a signal. Our hope is that they scare off the bombers, distract the ties, give us an opportunity to land on board the guillotine.
I wanted to speak with you before we do this because I want to make sure that you understand me and my companion's intentions.
She stops walking, turns and looks at you.
He draws his lightsaber.
The green one.
While we do want to find information about where our fleet went, I feel that we will eventually be reunited with it. That much I'm certain of. There's another goal, and that is the continued security and growth of our fleet. We see you and the guillotine as a potential part of that.
She's kind of shaking her head.
Now, of course, I can't guarantee you acceptance into the fleet, although they have yet to turn anyone away. There have been other ships that have joined us, other refugees, other people displaced by the war, such as myself.
I told you that if you help me get my people, that the guillotine would be at your disposal.
I don't want you to do this to pay off a debt. I want you to do this because you want to. We would ask you to accompany us to our fleet, and then you can decide if it's the right place for you. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's not the Empire. You'll find the command structure a bit more laxed. But they do wish to see a group of people protected and brought to a new home.
She thinks for a moment. It feels strange to make decisions about the fate of people who trust you.
San just nods, like in agreement.
I hope I'm making the right one.
Something else. You seem relatively confident that if this moth is removed, the crew will follow you.
She nods affirmatively. They're desperate. We're all desperate. A few more days. I could have taken all 160 of them.
Desperation will only hold a crew together as long as there is a collective need. You may find that in the short term, desperate people will follow you, but as soon as they find a more comfortable way, you might lose them.
What holds your fleet together?
Hope.
Hope.
A hope of a new world. One free of the Empire and the Rebellion.
There are already planets that already claim to have that.
They do, until one side or the other decides that that planet has something they want. And then...
Spoiler, Dan.
Well, then that planet ends up much like Kani did. That's their homeworld, or it was. It's a ruin now.
I found it easier to hide among the stars than it is on any of these planets. It's only a matter of time before you're exploited.
San nods and says, I too have been on the move for a long time. It seems strange to stay in one place for too long. But I just want you to think about what you're going to say to them. If you'd like help thinking, or if you'd like someone to bounce ideas off of, but you're going to have to address them after you take over, and you're going to have to keep them together. More than just long enough to get out of this place. Long term. Ask yourself, what are these people like? What motivates them? What's worked in the past?
Thank you, Counselor. She looks at her little data pad. It's beginning.
I'll meet you in the cargo bay.
You all are in the cargo bay, we'll say.
Devin, one
Yes.
quick thing.
Yes.
That use of the availability of the relays.
Yes.
What I'd like to do is actually connect it to the escape pod,
Okay.
so it'll bounce and make a stronger signal.
Okay.
So it'll just be a much more effective decoy based on its strength from the relays. Do you want me to make a roll for that? I don't know.
I'm gonna have that roll happen at the time of,
Yeah, it
when-
could be an interfere roll
okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
when they're trying to assess the situation.
I like that. Okay, cool. We see the crew of the Wandering Star meeting in the hangar bay on Ring 1. We see Rhymes. We see Karn. We see 7 other individuals in Imperial Navy uniform. There's a little data pad in Karn's hand, and it shows instances of explosive ordnance detonating in that local field. You look out the cargo bay door, that hangar bay door, that blue shield. As the ship rotates, you just see through it small bursts of light between the asteroids. That ever-present twinkle, the minerals on these asteroid fields. Small lights indicating drill hardware, some of the larger bodies. And off in the distance, just between a cluster of these asteroids, you see the long, lit, gray form of the guillotine. Entering the asteroid field. Find out what happens next time.
It's a trap.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Wings of Kani. Intro and outro music by Galactic Empire. Check them out at Galactic Empire Official on social media. Our Nasty Graham theme music by A Wilhelm Scream. Dramatic voiceover by Liv. Check her out at Musings of a Polyhedron on Substack. Check us out on nastygrahampod.com. You can get full bios of all the cast. You can get all the links to our social media, links to the feed with all of our back content. So head on over, check out the Nastygram Lounge on Facebook, chat with us, and tell us your favorite Force powers.
That's nasty.